Hello, welcome to Dragons
Unicorns.
and Other Creative Creatures, where we promote, celebrate, recognize, and kvetch on the arts. Kvetch.
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 Kvetch. One syllable. One big
Kvetch.
kvetch syllable, yes.
God bless you.
Pretty much.
Or, as they say in Fiddler on the Roof, God bless and keep you, far away from us.
That's the blessing for the czar. That's the blessing for the czar. It's too damn appropriate for a person in this day and age.
Absolutely. If you are involved in the arts in any way, whether you are an artistic cook or tailor or seamstress or
Oh my God, whatever you
band
do,
member,
create jewelry, create paintings, create glass, anything you do.
if part of your daily process is being creative in the world and you would like to promote and have your art supported and shared, then you may email us at duandoc2@gmail. Again, that's DU for Dragons and Unicorns, and AND, and then OC2, which is Other Creative Creatures @gmail.com. And
That's the last time I get creative when it comes to an email address. There are times for creativity, and there are times when to not be creative, and apparently creating an email address is one of them.
in this case, it's called creative chaos.
Okay, I will accept, yes. Definitely creative chaos. Or too clever for my own good.
Yeah, well, it's been known to happen. So, we have lots of stuff going out on in the area today. We've recently done shows with Symphony New Hampshire.
Yep.
We are getting ready. We're going to have we're going to have a local theater company on today.
I'm excited about that.
That's excited. And there's just so much going on in the arts, and there's so much opportunity to expose your kids to the arts, especially exposing your kids to the arts. I was just looking at Prescott Park in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, which does free all summer long.
Yep.
They do free productions. They're doing Mary Poppins.
Yay.
Camp Kid, I think Mary Poppins is the regular production they're doing. They're doing Camp Kid. They're doing a few different things. But look around. Your local, there's the
Lowell does
Lunchbox
tons.
series in the National Library.
Yep. Lowell does tons as a national park. It keeps arts all going on. In addition to the folk festival that's at the end of July, which is one of the largest ongoing ones in the country. They have a summer music festival. Melissa Etheridge was in Lowell the weekend after July 4th. So they have some paid and some free. It's so easy. Start with your own town. Start to end up with a place where you don't have to worry about parking, finding where you're going, worrying about what you're going to eat or what you're going to. Start local, then work your way out because you're gonna find stuff.
And there's a ton of stuff out there that's free.
Oh gosh, yeah.
So there's no reason not to expose your kids to the arts. Now, on the other hand, the arts need support.
Yes, always.
When we were talking to Symphony New Hampshire, we talked about all of the great community service stuff they did, and they do that through fundraising.
Absolutely.
And oftentimes, the arts don't get underwritten unless you find a healthy donor.
Well, patronage of the arts is an old, sponsorship and patronage just goes way, way back. Because when things are tough, you look at what's tough. You want to, donate to a hospital, or you want to donate to hospice. You want to donate to a kids club, and things that are, helping youth. And the arts gets forgotten, but the truth is, it's part of what keeps our communities healthy. It's part of what allows our children to grow up to know what they want and be, as you said, exposed to other opportunities, things other than math and science and reading, that there's ways to use those things that they're learning in other ways.
And I don't remember who said it, but I know that it has been said that the decline in the arts has been the foreshadowing of the fall of every great empire.
Yes.
When people lose connection with the arts, when they lose connections with the artistic, when the arts become controlled.
Yes, because usually what's happening simultaneously is the powers that be are spending money on military. So as that increases and arts decreases, the balance shifts. And yes, it's traced to the fall and decline of Evergrande Empire.
Yeah.
So stop contributing to the fall and decline of our empire and go to support the arts.
Yeah, at some point, we should do a show on Anyone Can Whistle.
That lasted all of 8 performances.
Yes, but the messages are pertinent today.
Oh, God, yeah.
It was
Well, it's the inmates running the asylum.
Well, and it was so much ahead of its time because it lasted 8 performances in 1963.
Yes. There's a
And-
running gag that says if everybody who claims to have seen it had actually seen it, it would have run a lot longer.
Yeah, well, they did the stage concert thing that they do, where they'll just have
Yes.
everybody stand in front of it.
Which
and
is
they
great.
did, a few years ago, to bring it out, but it has very poignant messages about what the definition of crazy is. And one of the definitions of crazy in this musical was basically that you give money to your government so it can spend it in ways that will end up getting you killed by the building up of the military.
Yep.
Yeah.
Not going to think too much about that until I'm allowed to drink with that thought. In the meantime,
Yeah, what's
it's
in that cup?
It's only water. And the voice you heard is now our guest, who we're going to get ready to introduce. We have with us John Swift, not to be confused with Jonathan Swift. He's actually tall for his age, not short.
Yeah.
And he is the founding director of the Dunstable Theatre Collaborative.
Got it.
Yes, you got it.
I got it!
Got it in one.
Got it in one.
Yes,
Very
I kept
good.
on wanting to say collective.
Yeah.
Collective, cooperative.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good C words when
Yeah,
it comes to creating. but-
There is. And we went with collaborative because of the idea of people joining together from the community to make art together.
There you go.
Okay.
So that's why we chose collaborative.
Yeah,
Me, myself, and I, the entire board of directors.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that Trump imitation.
Well, there's that.
Narcissism at its best. No. So
Narcissism, the musical.
Oh, God, soon. Coming to a theater near you.
So you have. How long have you been involved in the theater?
Oh my gosh. So I've been doing plays since I was a wee lad, since middle school, high school. My first play I was in kindergarten. We did a show called All About Spring. I was a narrator. It was so cute. But I mean, you can get bitten by the bug pretty early. And so once you're in a show, you just kind of want to do more shows. And so I was in a show in middle school of Christmas Carol that we had written that was really cute and had a lot of.
Does Charles Dickens know you did this?
Yeah, Charles Dickens didn't know.
That's good, because that rewriting thing.
No, yeah,
Our
no,
authors
it was
get fussy.
Yeah.
Be careful. I'm a medium. I can channel him.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And he's visited Lowell, so he's been in the area.
Very nice. But I really started getting more involved when I was a freshman in high school. I had grown up to be a very shy individual, as you can tell. Very
Terrible.
shy, introverted fellow.
I share that with you. Yes. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah.
And no, but I was though. And my friend Sean said that they needed some actors to be in Once Upon a Mattress because they didn't have any guys.
Speaking of shy,
Yeah. Wow, nice.
thank you.
And so I went to be in the show, and it just opened me up to the fact that I could be different than I felt naturally that I was. I was able to have a larger personality, a larger role in a larger. I was able to decide who I was for myself
By being somebody else.
by being someone else, and then tying that into my own personality and deciding what I wanted to do and who I wanted to be. And it was freeing for me and liberating for me to be able to be someone else.
So did you end up deciding that you were going to be the pea or the mattress?
A little bit of both.
Check.
Have you ever seen the movie Who Am I This Time?
I have not.
No.
Chris Watkins, a young Christopher Watkins.
Ooh.
Very fascinating. He is painfully shy in a small town, works in a hardware store, but he gets cast in every great lead in the theater company. The only time, in the local town theater company, and the only time that he will speak or do is he'll step in. And in the movie, he's just been cast in A Streetcar Named Desire.
Oh, Mom.
And this girl that just moved to town, like, falls in love with him, who's playing in the theater. But when she meets him in the hardware store, he won't talk to her. He acts like he doesn't know her. He looks down, you know. And the whole thing at the end is he becomes each character that he performs for the length of the performance, and then he goes back to being this very painfully shy guy, and he won't talk to anybody, and he won't. And it doesn't. It's not a happily ever after.
All right, thanks for the warning.
Yeah, it's not a happily ever after kind of.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert.
But that's a good thing to know sometimes going in.
But it's excellent. With what you said, you really should dig it out. I mean, this movie was, I think, made in the 70s.
I'll check it out. I mean, I like
Who am
Christopher
I
Walken.
today?
Who am I this time?
Who am I this time?
Because that's his question. When at the,
Right.
you know, at some point, the director of the theater company comes and hands
him
him
a
the
script.
script, and he's like, "Who am I this time?"
Yeah.
And it just
That's
works
really-
for him.
That's really neat.
But you developed your own.
Yeah, I was
Oh,
able
John.
to. Yeah, I was able to draw from those experiences and flesh out my own personality and decide who I wanted to be. And it was really empowering for me. And so I did plays and musicals through high school, and then I went to Emerson College to study musical theater. All my teachers were expecting me to go become an engineer because I was a salutatorian in my class. I'm very smart. I mean,
Yeah, just, you know, empirically.
I'm very, like, book smart. And I went to go into the arts, and my teachers were very mad at me. When I went to go drop calculus, because I wanted to be in more plays, my calculus teacher told me that I could drop calculus if I told him that I was lazy and did not want to do the work. And I said, I'm lazy and I do not want to do the work.
Really?
Can I go now?
He fed you a line.
Yeah,
I
I'm
mean,
like, that's the line?
Okay.
Okay, I'll use it.
Yeah.
man, if I could have gotten calculus that way, you know, what a terrible thing. I mean,
But-
I've taken calculus and I've performed in theater, and I can tell you, I use the theater much more in the real life than I have ever used calculus.
But yeah, it is very weird. You were talking earlier about how there's so much focus on math and science and these educational pieces, and I have a background in education now. I've done a lot of teaching as well, and the arts are really forgotten. When I graduated from school, I started going for musical theater, and about halfway through I switched to theater education. The director from the community theater near where I grew up, and the one who I did a lot of plays with, died tragically in a car accident. And I was like, it was a big turning point for me. I went from being, okay, I'm working on me, I'm progressing myself in the arts, to how can I do what she did for me, for others? And so
I love it.
I switched to theater
Makes my
education.
romantic heart so happy.
And I graduated, ready to go into schools and teach kids theater. And it was 2004. That was the year
yeah.
that Mitt Romney cut our education budget by $65 million in Massachusetts.
It was only $66 million, I think.
Yeah. And so arts programs got cut. There was no jobs. And I worked at Starbucks for 10 years. I'm a lot older than you think.
Yes, you definitely have a.
Hey, look, in the theater, that's a good thing. That is a very good thing.
Because they can always make you look older on stage. It's a
Oh,
little
yes.
harder to make you look
Or
younger.
they can add prosthetic-y things and stippling. And
So so you spent 10 years working at Starbucks, but you stayed involved with the theater, I'm assuming.
And there was a couple of years when I was a little dejected. And I was like, I can't get into the thing I wanted to do. Pity party for myself. But then I found that there was a hole. You know, I needed to fill a hole with my need to perform. And so I found the Boston Choral Ensemble. It is a choral group based out of Boston, about 40 people, and they sing choral art music from 1600s to present day. And I got involved with them and started performing with them on a regular basis. And through them, I met a bunch of like-minded artists, and we created Small and Casual Productions in Somerville, which is a living room theater musical company. And we put on full-scale musicals in living rooms.
I love that because that's where my first performance was, my parents' living room.
It's
It
interesting.
was full-scale productions in my head.
And I'm sure you lived up to it, dear.
Broke some windows and glasses, wasn't you?
Yes, can you see me? I'm gonna. Yes, I can see you in that role. You're just missing the Viking hat.
Didn't perform that many operas.
Well, I did something interesting a few years back about this movie script I wrote, where we decided, the other person and I decided that we would actually stage it and invite a bunch of friends in somebody's living room that could actually do it, to run through it and have it taped as an editing perspective of what was slow, what worked, stuff like this. The script still hasn't been produced as a major movie or even a movie yet, but it was an interesting thing to do, that kind of theater.
One very interesting thing about it is how close you are to audience members. You're in the living room, they're watching you in the kitchen, the adjoining bedroom, and they're right there, and you are interacting with audience on a different level than you would from a stage to an audience, and it's pretty wonderful because you can still get the same emotions, even more so on a small scale stage like that, and really be able to make connections with your audience members. So it's pretty nice.
Now, did this theater company charge for this, or
No.
did it just did it for
We
people
just-
that love the
yeah,
art?
Yeah, just did it for people who love the art. We would get together, we would rehearse for 1 week, and we would put on our show, and the people who would come would fill up the living room, set up a picnic of whatever bread and cheese and wine that they had, and just all watch and be entertained by theater in the living room. It was it was super fun.
Did they at least share their food and their wine when you were done?
Oh yes, they sometimes share it when you're on the stage. So it's,
That made Act 2 interesting.
Act 2 is always much more interesting than Act 1.
Have you ever seen? I've seen it a few times, and I'm trying to now remember Sheer Madness.
Yes.
Because that makes me think of that, because the stage is so close in Sheer Madness, and
Yes.
they do the audience interaction.
That's right.
And I really love that,
Yeah.
that intimacy.
Actually, probably one of my favorite shows that I've ever done was the 25th annual Putnam County Spelling Bee.
Where you
which-
pull people from the
you
audience.
pull people from the audience, and they are part of your show.
They get the easy words.
They're some of the spellers. Well, they get some of the easy words until you need to get them off the stage, and then you give them anti-disestablishmentarianism and see what happens.
I love that musical. There's a character named Rona in it.
There is a character named Rona.
It's the only one.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, there's a character named Rona.
So you went from that and Starbucks to where you are now?
Yep.
Or is-
So I was doing all this, and then I had a son. And we were living in East Boston at the time, and I was teaching in Boston Public Schools, and I decided I didn't want my son to go to East Boston Public Schools because I was teaching them and I didn't love them. And so we started looking around for places that my wife could still commute to, and that sort of had the same feeling of the woodsiness of Maine, where my wife and I are both from. And so we landed in Dunstable, which has
It's pretty woodsy.
yeah, it's pretty woodsy. It has a great school system with Groton, and the commute is comparable to what we were doing from East Boston.
So now, did you meet your wife in the arts?
I did. We met in the Pirates of Penzance.
Aww.
It was back in high school. We have been together for 20 years. So it was Hell Week. It was the week leading up to the show.
Tech Week.
Tech Week, Hell Week, tomato, tomato. And we had someone drop out of the show, and she danced. That's what she did. And I didn't know her, but her friend was the Major General and said, "Oh, this person knows how to dance. We'll get her in here." And one of our policemen had dropped out, so they do most of the dancing in the show.
Yeah.
So she picked it up really quickly, and she just happened to be dancing in front of me, and she was cute, And so I was trying
He's from behind.
to tell. Didn't.
Sorry.
I mean, it's true.
Sorry, honey.
Yeah, and so I was trying to help her out with the dance steps that she already knew, of course, and she thought I was a terribly stuck-up, horrible individual. Until so the police in Pirates of Penzance are only in the second act of the show. So you have the whole entire first act where all these people are just sort of hanging out. And so we got to know each other, and one thing led to another. And then 20 years later, here we are. Yeah. So
With a son?
with the son.
Now, she didn't stay in the arts.
She did not. She's very shy as well. She did ballet and modern back in high school, but she moved on and does. She'd like to get back to it eventually, but eventually always moves on and on. So, yeah.
But
She's my biggest supporter. She's
I was
always
gonna
yeah. It's always good to have someone who supports you in the audience.
Oh, yes.
well, and she's your biggest supporter, which has actually helped you be able to create this next dream.
Yes, for sure. So when we found out Sam was coming, we looked at prices of childcare and amounts that jobs were making, and it made sense for one of us to stay home because of the price of childcare. And because one of us, we didn't want to just take our baby and ship our baby off to daycare, because we wanted to have some influence in their upbringing. And so her job was making much more than my teaching job, and so it was me who's going to be staying home, and it's been wonderful. I'm a stay-at-home dad. There's not very many of us, and with being home, I got to figure out, what do I want to do with my spare time, which is nap time, between like 12:30 and 2:30 every day. And so I decided that starting a nonprofit corporation would be the right thing to do. And so that's where Dunstable Theatre Collaborative came from. We had moved to Dunstable. I'd gone to Town Hall to drop off my voter registration, and I looked to my right and saw a stage with a curtain and about 125 seat occupancy, and I said, "What's up with the stage here? Who uses this theater?" I'm like, "Oh, it hardly is ever used. It's only used for meetings and whatnot." And I was like,
Yes.
I'm like, "So what can I do to use this stage?" And like, "Oh, you have to be a nonprofit group, and then you can use it for free." And I was like, "Okay, I'm going to become a nonprofit group and go use the stage." And I've had a really good, warm response from the selectmen of the town, who are really behind this project and getting us this space. And so I'm really excited to start putting productions on. We've had a couple meetings where we've performed a few songs and scenes and gotten people involved, filled out their names and what they do on some sheets so that we can get them involved in future productions. But we're looking to have our first big auditions for our show in September.
So now I'm assuming that you have to be a Dunstable resident and a nonprofit.
Yes, to use the space, yes. Yeah. But you don't have to be a Dunstable resident to be part of the Dunstable Theatre Collaborative.
Because you're the resident that
Yeah.
Right.
gets
as
them
long as-
in.
Yeah, exactly. So it's Dunstable and surrounding towns just built that sort of community theater space that, there's some theaters around here, but not a lot of like real community theater that's stuff that anyone can be involved in. The actor singers are great, but they're more high caliber. It's not a straight community theater. It's they have billboards on Route 3. We're not going to have billboards on Route 3.
Probably not.
Maybe
Not unless
not
somebody wants to
now.
donate.
Not yet. Not
Not
yet.
unless someone wants to donate it.
Yeah, but we're looking at starting with smaller shows in that space I was talking about, and then hopefully we can grow to start using some of the larger stages and putting on some big summer musicals. We'd like to do.
So in September, what show is your show at?
Right now we're between two shows, trying to decide which one's going to be the best for our first opening show. We'd like to do The Importance of Being Earnest because, for a couple of reasons. One, it's a well-known show. It's funny, and the rights are free right now.
No,
because
That was the first show I was ever in. The Importance of Being Earnest.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the other show we might do is Rumors. It's a modern comedy, and it's hilarious, and it also has a smaller cast, and so it would be a manageable show to do. But I'm going to talk to our artistic director. Her name's Christina Chadzinski, and decide how we're going to move forward, which shows we're going to do first, second.
So what is your actual, I mean, you founded the nonprofit.
Founded a nonprofit. I am the president of of the corporation.
You're president of the corporation.
Yep.
But what, you have an artistic director.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Her name's Christina Chadzinski. She signed on with us after I put out some calls in local bulletins and newspapers for membership, and she's excited about it. She's done a lot of directing in the past, and can work within our pay grade of we don't pay anybody anything.
Oh, that pay grade.
Yeah, yeah. We're one of the things that we are is a community theater all the way through. Everything that we are doing, nobody's getting paid for. This is the community getting together to create theater for the love of theater, to create art for people to watch. We're going to be trying to be able to keep the ticket prices low so that people can come without regard for how much money they make, just to be able to cover the cost of rights and what props and costumes and lighting, et cetera, that we'll need. So trying to keep it accessible.
Okay.
Right, because once you hit, a certain level,
Yeah.
you're like, oh, all four of us or just the two of us? Or
Mm-hmm. Yep. And we're trying to be as inclusive as possible, and that's inclusive of every member of the community to either see it or be involved in it. So we're not really limiting age either. Like we want anyone who's really interested and who's going to be able to fit in one of the roles to come in and audition for that role. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
So somebody that walks in that's just never done it but always wanted to do it, how much support are they going to get to learn how to act?
They are going to get the support of all the other folks who are in that show. One of my big beliefs with this company is that people learn from each other a lot better than they can learn from a single person. And so getting together and in those earlier rehearsals, instead of just saying, we're going to go lines, line, scene, 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 we're going to do some acting exercises, and we're going to work on some improv. We're going to be working on some lines and how to deliver lines in 12 different ways, and just doing some of those exercises that are going to strengthen everyone's skills. And then you can move on to making the theater. But part of making the theater is also the process. And the process, if the process is a learning process, then the theater is successful.
I like that.
Yeah.
That's a really good. All I keep thinking of is the movie Tootsie, which is wonderful on many levels. But in the beginning, he's teaching an acting class. And he says, you need to work, but there's no work. So you need to find work and you need to make work. And there was something, I can't remember when that came out and how involved in the theater, how much I loved it at that point. But that whole concept of there's no work, but you have to work. You need to find work and you need to make work. And as a writer, I know I've created anthologies, and every single one of them has had a first-time publication for at least one or two writers, if not more. You're creating acting opportunities. I mean, there's just, in addition to anything else that ends up trickling down to the community, to people discovering the arts, to kids finding, a high schooler finding that, oh, okay, I have more of a voice than I thought I did, to not just make art for one person, but to create work for others to do as well is such an amazing thing to be a part of. Sounds such an amazing thing to initiate.
Absolutely. And one of the things that my brain is always working, like yours.
Mm-hmm. Overtime.
Is Charlie that way already? Is your little guy already?
Sam.
Sam. Where did I
Sam.
get Charlie from?
Because you talked about Charlie Brown before we went on air.
Oh yeah, we did. We talked about Charlie Brown.
I did.
Yeah,
that's why.
Like I said, I always tell you, I can't remember my kids'
Samuel's,
names.
he's already had his first recital.
Oh, that's excellent.
Ridiculously cute. 3-year-olds with tap shoes are so silly cute.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah.
No bias there. None. But one of the things is that I think would be really wonderful, and we talked a little bit of this when we had Symphony New Hampshire on, would be to see if you guys could actually evolve into, in a couple of years, be running a summer camp for the local kids to really get them involved with the arts. Which, the family pays whatever it can because, they're not paying babysitters. They're sending them to a different kind of camp, so to speak, and keeping it affordable. It's also nice to have the people that are putting a lot of time and effort in to get something for their
Sure,
time.
yeah.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
life's not free.
Life's not free. You're right.
Life is not free. But the more kids that we bring over to the artistic agenda, you know,
The dark side we have.
the dark side, yes. Yes, that they're going to go on and they're going to be the ones that in 5 or 10 or 15 years, they're out there changing the world, or they're fighting against, well, what do you mean? We could afford $23 million for a plane that doesn't fly, but you're cutting my arts program.
Right.
You know?
Exactly.
So we have to corrupt them young.
Absolutely.
We've got to get them to be in love with their creativity, be in love with being,
And give them a
the
safe
arts.
place for it.
Yeah.
Give them a safe place.
For sure. Absolutely. And it was another one of the another one of the factors going into the creation of this group is there's a lot going on right now in the world, especially in our country, and the arts are not going to be supported the way that we want them to be supported. In Massachusetts, there's been big cuts to the Arts Council, and I mean nationally, the NEA, the National Endowment for the Arts, is looking at the chopping block.
Yeah.
You know, it's scary times.
What little they had to
Yeah,
begin
what little they had, and so I was thinking, what can I do? I'm far from Boston, so driving in with my 3-year-old for rallies is less than ideal. But I'm like, I can make art. I can make art and have a place where other people can make art and support this local scene, and we can support the arts in our way here.
Well, and art and creativity can and has been a big mover in changing and shifting public opinion. Obviously places like TV networks and sitcoms and movies have more larger impact, but so much has changed because they changed on the TV before they changed in middle America.
I've always thought one of the reasons why Barack Obama was elected kind of when he did was because people got used to seeing a black president for several seasons on 24. Dennis Haysbert played the president for years, and people kind of got used to that idea. It was a big deal when he first started playing the role. By the time he was done, it wasn't such a big
It's
deal
definitely a
anymore.
possible factor.
And how much did Will and Grace have to do with actually getting gay marriage legal?
Right.
Sure.
And seeing more like, these are my neighbors, these are my relatives, these are my friends, these
Right.
are not outsiders.
They're not only in New York,
They're
and
not,
they're not
o-
only.
yeah. They don't just exist in New York and LA.
I'm telling you, some people think that.
Yeah, and I mean, another thing that I've always been excited to do with theater is to push some of those norms that people see. The small and casual group that I'm with in Somerville, they put together a version of Les Miserables called Les Mis, Lesms, all women cast of Les Mis,
Okay, I'm all for that one.
and it was wonderful. And
Jean Valjean.
Jean Valjean.
Jean
Valjean.
Jean Valjean. It was really good. It got to explore some of the romances in different ways. People could see them in different ways, which was wonderful. And it lets you look at the art in a different way.
Well, and that's always one of the, your cutting edge performances oftentimes, even if it's a remake of Shakespeare, where suddenly it's set in Nazi Germany or it's set in, Trump America, same thing. That you have, that people can then relate to it. They can't always relate to, 1200s or 1300s England or
Right.
Denmark, but they can relate to inner city or they can relate to this. And so there's a great rebirth that can happen over and over again when you have solid pieces that have a message that touch people.
Right, well, then you take something that is completely historical and you put it in the hands of somebody who's into hip hop, and you end up with something like Hamilton, which is set back in the 1700s. He didn't change the setting or anything. He just made
Change the music.
Yeah.
And he made the immigrants of then look like the immigrants of today.
Yep. And look what happened there. It's just so. so much success because people were able to access it in a way that was comfortable for them. You know?
Oh my God! Have you ever seen the book they sell it now? The book that inspired the
Yeah.
musical. It's this big. It weighs a ton. It's a nonfiction history book. It is
Yeah.
it's not as if he was inspired by something light and airy. It was a serious piece of research.
Yep.
And because of his background, because he's always been inspired by the arts, he read it and heard and saw a musical in it. Somebody else reads something or we see something and we see art, we see sculpture, we see, it becomes something else.
Yep.
We keep reinterpreting it.
Well, at one point I was getting ready to go on tour with my Managing the Gift book, which is one of my books I wrote about ADD and ADHD. And my manager at the time was supposed to be setting up a series of lectures that were going to include some performance art, and I was going to get the local kids at the schools to perform. And so I wrote a hip hop song for them to sing to open my
Well, there you go.
open up my show, which was
Right.
my talk on ADD as a gift instead of something that we should be
Right.
medicating or a disability.
Right.
So you get to you can play in all of this, and one of the reasons I brought this up is, will you be doing original productions?
I hope to. I've done some writing myself. Back in college, I've done some playwriting. But there's a lot of talent who don't necessarily have an outlet for their shows. I would love to do some original stuff. We're definitely open to a lot of possibilities because we're so young. We really aren't
No rules.
rigid in any way
Yeah.
yet, and so being able to take on new work would be very exciting. And I would love to do it. Yeah. And what you were saying earlier about summer camps for kids.
Yes.
We've already even talked about it at board meetings, saying that this is something we eventually want to move towards. Is being able to do some sort of like festival that's going to be able to involve kids at a younger level. So.
What would be truly powerful, I believe, is to have a summer camp where your kids get to write their own original play and perform it,
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
versus going in and learning how to act, which is a different
There's
and
a
equally
college-
powerful, but different.
There's
Yeah.
a college program I think it's done in 48 hours. Have you heard about it?
My treasurer has done this at his college. They
24 or 48 hours?
I don't recall if it's 24, 40. I think they do it in 24.
I want to say, I think it actually might be 24, but
They-
the first
they-
8, the writer's work.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then they hand off what they get to the actors and the directors, and then they learn it. And
They
then by
learn.
the end of the day, the whole thing's performed.
Yep.
And that's
Yep.
it.
Our treasurer, Jeremy Hammond, he had done this for years with his group at Worcester Polytech, and so you wouldn't think of again a science college putting on theater, but no, they love this stuff.
And you have to sort of know in advance, I've got X many girls, X many guys, this age group, and you make it work.
I don't know if I ever told you this story. I was
I don't
asked.
know, but if it starts with a laugh, I'm very curious.
Well, when you were just talking about this, like on the spot, high
Yeah.
pressure thing, I had been invited to write, to participate in and co-write a pilot that was being shot to see if it could become a TV show. And one of the reasons I was invited is one of the characters was based on me. So I was actually,
Seems reasonable.
there was a Dr. Kevin character, and they first attached to talk to me about coming in to play me for the pilot. And it was somebody that I had helped who had ADD and wanted to actually represent ADD in a very positive way in the sitcom. So they'd asked me if I'd come in, and they said, I know that you have done a lot of writing and done scripts and stuff. Would you come in? So I flew in to San Francisco for the auditions for the characters for the thing with the guy that was writing the pilot that was bringing me in to see if I could help a little. And we sit down, and I'm there, and my assistant at the time is there, putting the set together for them to do the acting on and stuff like this. And I said, so where's the script? And he goes, well, I just thought I'd describe the character and just let him go. Now, these are people walking in that have answered ads. Like, how happy would you be if you walked in and suddenly,
Yeah.
And I said, you can't do that. They have to have
You need
something to form.
pages.
They have to have pages. I sat there on my iPad and wrote
Ticked
before
one up.
they arrived enough dialogue for every character that was coming in to have an audition for the different roles. And then I said to him, how much of this do you actually have written? And he's like, I've got a couple of scenes.
That would drive me crazy.
Oh my lord.
So you know who wrote the rest of the pilot.
yeah.
Yes. But you've gone back to that old, the Judy Garland, Mickey Rooney, let's put on a show in a barn.
yeah.
We've gone back to that.
And
And
Maybe we
Judy,
should
you
do-
never looked lovelier.
well, thanks.
You're really definitely too tall for Mickey. We could do Babes in Arms.
Well,
We
it's
probably
funny that
should.
you say in a barn because there's
Everything in Dunstable's a barn.
everything in Dunstable's barn. There's a barn right next to town
Of
hall,
course
and
there
the
is.
fellow who owns it has offered it up for performances. He's renovating it to be a farm-to-table restaurant with a performance space, and
Dinner theater.
and so
You and I can be Connie and Carla.
and so yeah, he contacted me and said, "You're thinking along the same lines that I'm thinking," and I'm like, "This is exciting. There's a lot of want in the community for the arts to be more present, and so people are sort of lining up behind this to make it happen.
Oh, that's so awesome.
It's really exciting."
Yeah. And if we can corrupt enough of this new generation,
I'm doing my part, and he's already got one, so yeah.
well, I do my corruption in other ways.
You do. You do. There's so many ways. You can, we're already creative. We can creatively corrupt. That's why they hate us.
Is that we will shift the American people back to a gentler, more loving, more connected community. The community shattered. The community shattered in the 60s. Through the 60s and 70s, the community shattered, and now everybody, its motivation is either not being seen or fear, and it's definitely apathy and not wanting to stand out in any way that could be negative.
Right.
And too many Americans today in whole are addicted to the lies that allow them not to think.
To stay safe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And art isn't safe. I mean, it's
No.
never has been.
Never has been.
I think it's an Anais Nin quote that says, art isn't created so we can see what's there. It's there to help us see what we're afraid of, or something like that. I really should get
And also what could be.
Yeah.
Not only what is,
Yeah.
but what could be.
Yep.
And that happens over and over and over again. So we're almost out of time, but we're going to make sure that we get your contact information. So
Which will
I'm
appear
gonna
beneath his.
Oh, that's very exciting. DunstableTheater.org is our website, and you can follow
Good, you don't
us.
have to write the word collaborative.
No, yeah, Dunstable Theater. Yeah, I thought that one through. DunstableTheater.org. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. And our Twitter handle is Dunstable Drama, @DunstableDrama, and you can find us on Facebook as well, Dunstable Theater Collaborative.
Dunstable drama. Like there's any such thing as a small town.
Yeah,
that
there's
doesn't
so
have
much drama in
Right,
Dunstable.
Exactly.
Yeah, really. Maybe
He said that. He said that. She said that.
Yeah.
maybe you should get the juniors and seniors in high school to write a Dunstable drama play based on the town.
Based on the class.
It would be about cow tipping, I think.
He did say he wanted it woodsy.
Yeah, and I got it.
And you got it.
The first month we were there was a moose in our yard. I mean, it's like woodsy.
Wow.
Woodsy.
That's
Woodsy.
I'm such a city girl. That
Yeah.
would kind of freak me out.
I know. You miss those city lights.
I do. I miss the noise.
When the lights go down in the city.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. So, in closing, you're going to start performances regularly in January.
And we're planning on doing 3 shows a year, a mixture of musicals and non-musicals.
Okay.
And we are very excited to get this thing up and rolling. Yeah.
Excellent.
DunstableTheater.org. If you are a performer in the greater Dunstable, Groton, Pepperell,
Yep.
Nashua, Hudson area, whatever,
pretty much.
Perfect.
that wants to, has always wanted to get involved or wants to get re-involved with community theater. If you are somebody who is a creator that may have something that they're willing to do or stage, it's a wonderful opportunity. it definitely is a one-time. It's a huge thrill when you see something you wrote get staged. So I want to thank. This is John Swift from Dunstable Theater Collaborative, and thank you for coming.
Thank you.